The wind howled endlessly across the Arctic plain, sweeping sharp snowflakes that cut against skin like tiny blades. For weeks, the research camp had stood firm against this frozen wilderness. Small heated domes glowed faintly in the whiteout, surrounded by snow vehicles, drilling rigs, and towers of instruments. The scientists inside had grown used to the never-ending storm. Their work focused on what lay deep below. Dr. Elena Carter, the expedition leader, adjusted her parka hood and squinted at the blinking monitor in front of her. The display showed an unusual signal from the ice 2 kilometers down. For 3 days the team had been drilling and scanning. At first they expected nothing more than a rare geological anomaly. But now the readings made no sense. Elena, called Dr. Rajiv Mehta, the team's geophysicist, leaning over the screen. His voice was heavy with disbelief. This is not natural. Look at the density. Look at the angles. It's too smooth. Elena nodded, her heart beating faster. It's metal. A structure. The others gathered around, pulling off their gloves with shaking hands despite the cold. Months of routine surveys had turned into something extraordinary. Metal buried under 2 kilometers of ice? Asked Hannah Blake, a young graduate student who had joined the team for her first Arctic mission. How is that possible? No ship could have reached here. Elena drew in a long breath. We don't know. But whatever it is, it's not a natural formation. We may have found something ancient. The drilling intensified. Each day the team worked in shifts, cutting deeper through the ice with powerful thermal drills. The sound of machinery echoed across the frozen land, competing with the endless howl of the wind. Slowly, carefully, they melted a tunnel straight down. After weeks of effort, the drill finally struck something solid. The vibration shook through the machinery, and sparks leapt as the cutting bit failed against the mysterious surface. The team cheered despite the bitter cold. When they lowered a camera probe, the screen showed a glimmer of smooth silver-gray metal. Snow and frost clung to it like a protective skin. It's real, whispered Rajiv. His normally calm eyes were wide with wonder. Not rock, not ice. It's a constructed surface. The world seemed to pause for a moment. Every scientist in the room felt the weight of history pressing down on them. News of the discovery could not be hidden. Satellites picked up the camp's unusual drilling operations. Within days, rumors spread across the scientific community, and then into the public. Governments demanded reports and journalists swarmed the frozen port cities. Still, Elena and her team worked tirelessly, knowing the window of time was short before officials took control. They widened the tunnel and cleared frost away from the metallic surface. Eventually, enough was exposed to reveal an enormous curved wall. This is just one section, Elena explained during a satellite call to headquarters. We don't know its full size yet, but by our estimates, it could be hundreds of meters long, possibly larger. Her words sparked disbelief back at home. Some dismissed it as a hoax. Others whispered about ancient civilizations, or even alien contact. But the team knew the truth. They were standing on the edge of something impossible. One bitter morning, Hannah tapped Elena's shoulder with excitement. Come see this. She pointed at a section of exposed metal where strange patterns had emerged. The frost had melted enough to reveal faint lines etched into the surface. They were not random scratches. They formed precise geometric shapes, symmetrical and repeating. Language? Rajiv murmured. Or markings, Elena replied, her breath fogging the air. But not human. At least not like anything we've seen before. A sense of awe fell over the group. This was no natural deposit of metal. This was a constructed vessel. Tension in the camp grew as nations argued over ownership of the discovery. Military helicopters appeared on the horizon, their dark shapes moving against the pale sky. Officials warned Elena to halt exploration until further authority arrived, but she refused. This is a scientific discovery, she argued firmly. We can't stop now. Humanity deserves to know what lies beneath this ice. Against orders, the team pushed ahead. Using laser cutters and drills, they searched for a weak point in the metal wall. Days of work passed until at last Hannah cried out. She had found a seam. The seam ran vertically like a doorframe, sealed tightly by time and ice. With careful precision, the team cut around it, working slowly to avoid damage. Finally, after long hours of struggle, the frozen doorway shifted slightly inward. The scientists held their breath. Push, Elena commanded. With a deep groan of metal, the sealed panel moved. A thin crack opened, spilling a gust of air from inside. air that was surprisingly warm as though preserved. The frost around the opening melted instantly. Flashlights flickered across the darkness beyond. A tunnel stretched inward, its walls smooth and curved, glowing faintly with a pale light that seemed to come from the material itself. "Impossible," Hannah whispered. "There's still power in here." One by one, the scientists stepped inside. Their heavy boots echoed strangely, the sound swallowed by the metallic walls. The air was crisp and breathable. Despite the freezing temperatures outside, the passage held a steady warmth, as though it had never been abandoned. They moved deeper, their lights catching strange symbols etched into the walls. The markings pulsed faintly as if responding to their presence. Rajiv touched one gently with his gloved hand. "It's reacting. This isn't just a dead relic, it's alive in some way." The deeper they went, the more their hearts raced. The scale of the vessel was immense. Corridors branched in every direction, all curving with elegant design. Not a speck of rust or decay was visible despite its long entombment in ice. At last, they reached a vast chamber. The ceiling arched high above like the inside of a cathedral. Strange consoles rose from the floor, covered in alien symbols. A central platform stood at the heart of the room, its surface perfectly smooth. "This looks like a command center," Elena said, awe in her voice. The team spread out, examining every surface. Their flashlights reflected against glassy panels that seemed to shimmer with faint energy. Suddenly, Hannah gasped. "Look!" On the far wall, a cluster of panels lit up faintly, glowing with pale blue light. One by one, symbols appeared across the surfaces, forming patterns that pulsed in rhythm. The scientists froze, fear and wonder battling in their minds. "It's responding to us," Rajiv said softly. "It knows we're here." Elena felt her breath catch. She had prepared herself for ancient ruins, for lifeless remains of some lost civilization. But this was something more. As the chamber grew brighter, a deep hum filled the air. The walls seemed to vibrate, as though the vessel itself were waking after a long slumber. The scientists exchanged nervous glances. Their discovery was no longer a silent mystery. Something buried for countless ages had just opened its eyes. The command chamber glowed faintly, its light spreading across the metal walls like a pulse of life. The team of scientists stood frozen, their breath quick and shallow. For weeks they had worked in bitter cold, drilling through endless ice. They had expected silence and ruin. Instead, they stood inside a vessel that was still alive, still breathing after who knew how many thousands of years. Dr. Elena Carter forced herself to steady her voice. "Stay calm, everyone. This is still a scientific mission. Observe everything. Record everything." Her words broke the silence, and slowly the team scattered across the chamber. They touched panels, scanned surfaces, and whispered in awe. Hannah Blake, her flashlight trembling in her hand, leaned close to one glowing console. The alien symbols shifted as she drew near, rearranging themselves into new patterns. "Elena," she said softly, "it's reacting to proximity. It knows we're here." Rajiv Mehta stepped beside her, his eyes wide. "No simple machine could stay functional for this long. This is technology beyond anything humanity has ever seen." The hum grew louder, resonating in their bones. The entire vessel seemed to be listening. The chamber contained 6 corridors branching outward like spokes of a wheel. Elena chose one at random, leading the team deeper into the ship. Their footsteps echoed in steady rhythm, and the walls glowed faintly as they passed, like lanterns guiding their way. Soon, the corridor opened into another vast room. Here the walls curved around dozens of tall glass cylinders, each one filled with mist. Hannah's voice shook as she whispered, "Stasis pods." The scientists gathered around the nearest cylinder. Inside was a figure, not human but clearly alive once. Its body was tall and slender, with elongated limbs and ridged skin that shimmered faintly under the mist. The face was unfamiliar yet strangely noble, as if carved by some ancient sculptor, but the creature was motionless. Its eyes were closed. No breath stirred its chest. "They're dead," Rajiv said quietly. "Preserved but lifeless. Whatever crew this was, they never made it." Elena's throat tightened. She had spent her life studying geology, not extraterrestrial beings. Yet here she was, standing before undeniable proof that humans were not alone. "Document everything," she ordered. "Every detail matters." This is the first contact humanity has ever had, even if it's only with the dead. For hours, the team moved between the pods, recording images and data. Each contained a being slightly different in height or feature, yet all clearly part of the same species. Some looked peaceful, as if asleep. Others bore faint signs of stress, twisted hands, strained expressions, as though their final moments had been desperate. This wasn't a natural death, Rajiv concluded. Something happened to them. Something sudden. The thought chilled everyone more than the Arctic winds ever could. While the others studied the pods, Elena and Hannah explored a side chamber. It was smaller, filled with panels and smooth black screens. The air hummed with quiet energy. Hannah brushed her fingers across one of the consoles, and suddenly a burst of light erupted. A holographic projection filled the chamber, startling them both. Figures appeared, moving in silence. The same tall, slender beings they had seen in the pods. The images showed them working together, standing around the very chamber the humans now occupied. The scenes shifted quickly. Laughter, conversation, and then sudden panic. Explosions rocked the ship. Beams of strange energy ripped through corridors. The crew fell one by one as shadows of unknown attackers filled the vision. Elena's heart raced. "It's a recording," she breathed. The final image was haunting. The alien captain, gravely wounded, activating a control panel. A star map appeared above his head, filled with glowing symbols. With trembling hands, he seemed to set a course, not toward a star, but toward Earth itself. Then the image faded. Silence fell again. Hannah's voice cracked. "They came here on purpose. They brought this ship to Earth." Elena nodded slowly. "They weren't fleeing randomly. They chose this world." The discovery spread through the camp like wildfire. The scientists gathered in the command chamber, speaking in hushed, urgent tones. "Why Earth?" one asked. "Why bury the ship under ice?" asked another. "Were they trying to warn us of something?" Rajiv rubbed his temples. "The star map. If we can decode it, we may understand their mission. But it's not random. Those stars are arranged with purpose. They were marking something." The team set up equipment, working feverishly to capture every detail of the hologram. Their excitement was tempered by fear. If these aliens had fled to Earth, what had they been fleeing from? Later that night, when the others slept in the camp above, Elena returned alone to the ship. She couldn't resist. The questions burned in her mind. She stepped quietly through the corridors, her flashlight casting long shadows. The hum of the ship seemed stronger now, as if it recognized her. In the command chamber, she approached the central platform. It glowed faintly beneath her steps. Tentatively, she placed her hand on its smooth surface. At once, the entire room brightened. Symbols flared across every wall, and the platform beneath her hand came alive. "Elena!" a voice shouted. It was Hannah, rushing in behind her. She froze as she saw the chamber glowing like a sun. "Elena," she whispered. "What did you do?" "I don't know," Elena admitted. It responded to me. A new hologram erupted in the air, and this one sharper, clearer. It was not a recording of the past. It was something happening now. The projection showed Earth, a small blue sphere turning slowly in the dark. Around it appeared countless glowing lines, paths of ships or objects moving through space. One path in particular was marked red, stretching from a distant star toward Earth. Rajiv arrived, breathless from running. He stared at the image, his face pale. "That's a trajectory," he said. "Something is coming. Straight toward Earth." The chamber darkened again, leaving only the red line pulsing. Elena swallowed hard. They weren't just fleeing. They were warning us. Panic gripped the team. For the first time, their excitement about discovery turned to dread. They huddled in the chamber, debating furiously. "This ship may have been a last Ark," Rajiv argued. "They sent it here to hide or to prepare us. But why us?" Hannah asked. "Why humanity? We were still primitive when this ship was buried." Theories swirled, but no answers came. The only truth they knew was this: the ship had not died. It had been waiting, and now, after millennia of silence, it had chosen to speak. Over the following days, the scientists explored deeper. They found rooms filled with strange technology, devices that bent light, machines that hummed with energy despite their age. One chamber seemed to generate artificial gravity. Another contained maps of star systems no human had ever seen. But always, the red trajectory haunted them. Elena documented everything, preparing reports to send to the outside world. But part of her hesitated. If government seized the ship, would they treat it as a treasure? Or as a weapon? The question gnawed at her. On the 7th day inside the vessel, a new event shook them all. While Rajiv was studying the star map chamber, the panel suddenly shifted. Instead of alien symbols, human letters began to appear, crude at first, then rapidly correcting. As if the ship were learning, words formed across the glowing screen. Identify, human. The team stared in shock. It's talking to us, Hannah whispered. Rajiv swallowed hard. Not just talking. It recognizes us, Elena stepped forward. We are humans, she said clearly. We come in peace. We seek knowledge. The letters changed again. You were expected. The room fell silent. The scientists exchanged fearful, astonished glances. None dared breathe too loudly. At last, Elena whispered, What do you mean, expected? The ship did not answer in words. Instead, the hologram of Earth reappeared. The red trajectory glowed brighter. Around it, new symbols appeared, alien but slowly shifting into English. The message was clear. Danger coming, prepare. The team's awe turned to dread. This was no longer a mystery locked in the past. It was a warning about the future. The ship had waited under the ice for humanity to awaken it. And now, as its power grew stronger with every passing day, it was calling them not to study, but to act. Elena felt the weight of history pressing on her shoulders. For the first time, she understood why the ship had come here, why it had chosen Earth. It had been waiting for humanity to rise. And now, the time had come. The Arctic winds howled outside the metal walls, but inside the buried spaceship, there was no sound but the hum of the vessel's systems. Every corridor glowed softly, illuminating symbols and panels that seemed to respond to human presence. Dr. Elena Carter stood at the center of the command chamber, staring at the holographic display that showed Earth and the approaching red trajectory. This isn't just a warning, Rajiv Mehta said, voice low, almost trembling. It's telling humanity what to do. Elena's eyes scanned the walls, the panels, the symbols pulsing faintly in rhythm with the ship's hum. Prepare for what? She whispered. We don't even know what's coming. The ship seemed to sense their confusion. Symbols shifted again, reorganizing into a language they could begin to understand. Slowly, English words appeared, jagged and imperfect at first, but increasingly clear. Humans, you are the heirs. You were seed. You were expected to lead. You must prepare to defend this world. The team froze. Seed, heirs? Lead. Hannah Blake stepped forward, her voice shaking. It's saying that humans were planted here. Like part of a plan. Elena's mind raced. A plan by whom? And why? The vessel answered without words. The holographic display changed again, showing images of distant galaxies, alien star systems, and a civilization far older than Earth. The projection zoomed in on a blue-green world, Earth, surrounded by small, dark objects approaching from deep space. They knew we would rise, Rajiv whispered, almost to himself. They knew humans would survive and be ready. Elena walked closer to the central platform. Every panel, every console seemed to guide her movements. She realized the ship wasn't just showing them information. It was teaching them. Hannah leaned over her shoulder. Look at the symbols near the star maps. They match us, humans. The ship projected more data, DNA sequences, genetic patterns, and diagrams that matched humans precisely. Some of the sequences were marked with timestamps stretching back hundreds of thousands of years. The aliens who had built this vessel had deliberately encoded humanity into their design. They planned for us, Elena said, voice barely audible. We weren't random, we were chosen. The command chamber doors slid open and a new corridor revealed itself. The walls pulsed with light, guiding them forward. The team followed cautiously. The ship seemed to respond to their presence like a living entity, lighting the path only where humans walked. This is incredible, Rajiv said, scanning the walls. All this technology. It's centuries ahead of anything we've imagined. They reached another large room filled with consoles and strange machines. At the center, a circular platform glowed with energy. Symbols across its surface shifted continuously, forming instructions that humans could slowly understand. Elena stepped forward and placed her hands on the platform. A holographic interface appeared showing schematics of the ship, instructions for navigation, and even weapons systems. The team gasped. "This isn't just a warning ship," Elena whispered. "It's a defensive vessel." "A fortress," Hannah looked uneasy. "Weapons? Are we supposed to use them?" Rajiv shook his head. "It's not just weapons. It's a survival tool. They left this for humans to protect the planet from what's coming." The red line on the star map pulsed brighter. Whatever was approaching Earth, it was fast, massive, and unstoppable without preparation. The ship began displaying more personal information. Charts and holograms showed human history, migrations, civilizations, technological breakthroughs. It seemed to analyze their growth, highlighting key moments where humans had shown resilience, creativity, and adaptability. "It's studying us," Elena said. "It's measuring our ability to survive and lead. That's why it waited for us to awaken it. We had to be ready." Rajiv pointed to a holographic figure projected above the central platform. "Look, that's the alien captain. They left instructions for humans to continue their mission, to finish what they started." The team watched in awe as the holographic figure moved, tracing routes through distant galaxies, pointing toward threats, and then toward Earth. It was a guide, a teacher, and a warning all at once. Hannah whispered, "We're not just observers. We're part of this now." Elena nodded, her mind racing. "And we have to act fast. The ship, it's waiting for us to decide." The days passed quickly as the team worked tirelessly. They studied the alien technology, decoding the ship's systems, learning how to operate the navigation consoles and energy platforms. The ship seemed to respond only to cooperative human effort. If one person acted alone, the panels dimmed. Only when they worked together did the symbols glow brightly, revealing more information. "This is more than engineering," Rajiv said one night. "It's teaching us how to think differently, how to strategize. Humans are supposed to learn." Elena frowned. "But learn for what? What exactly is coming?" The ship answered indirectly, displaying a sequence of objects approaching Earth from multiple angles. Massive ships, dark and sleek, moving silently through space. The projection pulsed red where they would intersect with Earth's orbit. Hannah shivered. "That's a fleet. They're coming here to attack. Or worse," Rajiv said. "They're coming here to destroy. And this ship, it's our only defense." The team realized that the vessel was more than a ship. It was a test, a lesson, and a weapon combined. And the responsibility for humanity's survival now rested in their hands. Late one evening, as the Arctic wind raged outside, Elena stayed in the command chamber alone. The ship's hum seemed to synchronize with her heartbeat. The walls pulsed softly with energy, as if waiting for her to act. She approached the central platform again, tracing her fingers across the glowing symbols. The ship responded immediately, panels shifting and changing, displaying sequences she could finally understand. "Activate human leadership required." Her heart pounded. The vessel was asking humanity, not just the scientists but all humans, to take command. It was no longer a warning. It was a call to action. "Leadership?" she whispered to herself. "Are we ready?" A sudden flash of light drew her attention to the far wall. Symbols changed rapidly, forming a message that made her stomach drop. Danger approaching. Humans must unite or perish. The ship had never spoken in such stark terms before. It was urgent, immediate, a countdown hidden in the glowing panels. Elena rushed to gather the team. "We have no time," she said. "The ship. It's showing us everything. We must prepare, not just for study, but for defense." Rajiv's eyes widened as he looked at the star map. "That fleet. It's huge. We've never seen anything like it. If they reach Earth..." Elena placed her hand on his shoulder. "We don't have a choice. Humanity has been chosen, and we have to step forward." Over the next few days, the team tested the ship's systems, learning how to manipulate energy fields, navigate its corridors, and operate its defenses. Every new discovery revealed more complexity, more intelligence built into the vessel. Hannah discovered a holographic interface that displayed the ship's memory core. When she activated it, she saw the history of the alien civilization in brief. Chaotic flashes, star systems conquered, civilizations destroyed, and finally, their last fleet fleeing toward Earth. "They weren't just running," she said, her voice trembling. "They were preparing a final mission, and they left the ship for us to continue it." Elena's mind raced. "We're not inheriting a ship. We're inheriting responsibility. Everything they built, everything they knew, it's now ours. The final revelation came when the ship began to show simulations of human crews interacting with the controls. Figures resembling the scientists themselves appeared on the platforms, making choices and activating systems. It's testing us, Rajiv said. It's simulating what will happen if we fail, and what happens if we succeed. The simulations ended with Earth safe, glowing softly in the hologram, the red trajectory vanishing into nothing. The message was clear. Humanity could succeed, but only if they worked together. Elena looked at her team, determination in her eyes. We've been given a chance, a test, and we can't fail. This is bigger than science, bigger than exploration. This is survival. The vessel pulsed around them, acknowledging their understanding. For the first time, the red trajectory dimmed slightly, responding to human intent. But outside, the Arctic wind continued to howl, carrying with it the cold reminder of the real world. The fleet was still coming and time was running out. Elena's voice was steady even as her heart raced. We've learned what we must do now. We prepare. The ship seemed to hum in agreement, readying its systems for the humans who had been waiting for millennia to take command. The Arctic sky was dark, a blanket of stars flickering in the endless cold. Inside the buried spaceship, warmth radiated from the metal walls, and the hum of the vessel's systems filled the corridors. Dr. Elena Carter stood in the command chamber, staring at the holographic display of Earth. The red trajectory of the approaching fleet still glowed ominously, but now faint green lines pulsed alongside it. They're responding to us, Rajiv Mehta said, awe in his voice. The ship? It's learning from our actions, Elena nodded. It's not just a vessel. It's alive in a way, and it's waiting for humans to take command. Hannah Blake approached, clutching a tablet with new data. The simulations we ran, they're showing us that we can control the defenses. We just have to coordinate perfectly. Elena felt a weight settle on her shoulders. Then we start. Humanity is no longer a bystander. We're taking responsibility. Over the next days, the team worked tirelessly. Every scientist, engineer, and researcher in the camp above was brought inside, trained on the ship's systems. The vessel responded only when humans worked together, testing cooperation, patience, and ingenuity. They discovered energy shields capable of enveloping the planet, propulsion systems faster than anything human technology had achieved, and communication networks that could reach across the solar system in seconds. Weapon systems were sophisticated, but unlike Earth's militaries, they were designed for defense and strategy, not destruction. This isn't a weapon, Rajiv explained. It's a guardian, and it's meant for us to command responsibly. Elena spent hours at the central platform, watching as the ship displayed simulations of different strategies. Every choice showed consequences, teaching them the importance of precision, teamwork, and decision-making. The outside world grew anxious. News of the Arctic discovery had leaked, and nations argued about control of the ship. But Elena stood firm. This isn't about politics. This is about survival. Humanity must act as one. Gradually, world leaders began to understand. Representatives from across nations were allowed inside the vessel. For the first time, humanity worked together, not for conquest or profit, but for defense, learning from a civilization far older than their own. The ship's systems seemed to recognize this unity. Panels glowed brighter, corridors pulsed with light, and the red trajectory lines on the star map began to shift slightly, as if the vessel approved of their efforts. Hannah whispered to Elena, It's like it's teaching us how to lead, not just fight. Elena smiled faintly. Humans always rise to the challenge. That's why it waited for us. Weeks passed in intense preparation. The approaching fleet grew larger on the holographic map, their dark shapes stretching across interstellar space. Every day the humans trained, learning to coordinate the ship's defenses, activate shields, and anticipate attacks. Despite the pressure, the team's morale was high. They marveled at the alien technology, piecing together systems that had been dormant for millennia. Every failure taught them something new, and every success strengthened their confidence. Rajiv observed a holographic simulation of the fleet approaching Earth. We may be human, he said quietly, but we're clever. We can outthink them. That's why this ship chose us. Elena nodded. Not just clever. Adaptable. That's what makes humanity strong. Finally, the day came when the fleet reached the edge of the solar system. Sensors on the ship detected them, and the red lines of the trajectory pulsed urgently. The humans gathered in the command chamber, their faces a mix of fear and determination. Elena addressed the assembled crew. This is it. Everything we've learned, every skill we've gained, every ounce of cooperation, it all matters now. The ship has chosen us because it knows we can rise to this moment, and we will. The ship responded to her words with a pulse of energy, the entire command chamber glowing. It projected a view of Earth and the approaching fleet in stunning detail. Every movement and strategy laid bare. Hannah whispered, "It's beautiful and terrifying." Elena placed her hand on the central platform. "Then let's begin." The ship activated its defenses. Energy fields rippled outward from Earth, invisible barriers forming a shield that pulsed with protective light. The fleet slowed as it encountered the force, scanning for weaknesses. The humans watched, learning to anticipate the enemy's moves, guiding the ship's responses with precision. Rajiv manipulated the navigation console. "If we redirect the shields in this pattern, yes, the fleet's momentum will be dispersed." Explosions of energy burst in simulations, and the ship responded in real time, adjusting shields, rerouting power, and projecting countermeasures. Every decision, every calculation mattered. Elena's voice was steady as she coordinated the team. Focus on strategy, not panic. Humanity has done this before. Survival is in our nature. Hours passed in tense action. The fleet tried multiple attacks, testing the shields and scanning for weaknesses. Each attempt was met with human ingenuity. The scientists, now leaders, guided the ship's energy flows, adapted defensive patterns, and anticipated enemy maneuvers. Hannah observed a simulation of the enemy fleet's internal systems. They rely on coordination too. But they're rigid. We're flexible. That's our advantage, Elena nodded. And they underestimated humans. That's why the ship chose us. We can adapt where they cannot. The red trajectory lines began to shrink. The fleet's approach faltered under human command. For the first time, the humans realized that they could succeed. During a brief pause, the ship projected a new hologram. This time, it showed Earth not just as a planet to defend, but as a home to protect. Cities, forests, oceans, all glowing softly, emphasized what humanity was fighting for. Rajiv said softly, "It's not just about survival. It's about what we protect. This is why we rise to challenges. Because we care." Elena's eyes glistened. Humans are more than technology. We're spirit, creativity, and cooperation. That's what makes us extraordinary. The team felt a surge of pride. They were no longer just scientists or engineers. They were leaders representing all of humanity in a moment that would define their species. The fleet launched its final assault. Dark shapes moved at impossible speed toward Earth, energy weapons flashing across the void. The humans acted in perfect coordination, manipulating the ship's systems with precision. Shields expanded, deflecting beams. Countermeasures intercepted projectiles. Strategic bursts of energy disrupted the fleet's formation. Rajiv cheered. "It's working. We're holding them off." Hannah smiled through exhaustion. We're doing it." Elena kept her eyes on the central display. The red lines of the trajectory dimmed and finally vanished. The fleet's approach had been neutralized. Earth was safe, for now. The ship's hum changed, softer now, almost as if it were exhaling relief. The humans stood in silence, awed by what they had accomplished. Finally, the vessel projected a message in glowing symbols that quickly converted to English. "Human leadership successful. Earth secured. Your resilience proves your worth. You are the guardians." Tears formed in Elena's eyes. Rajiv and Hannah embraced briefly, overwhelmed by relief and pride. Elena whispered, "We did it. Together." Humanity rose to the challenge. The ship's corridors glowed softly, and its systems seemed to settle into a calm rhythm. It was still ancient, still powerful, but now it belonged to humans. They had earned the right to command it. In the days that followed, the ship guided humanity to establish new protocols for planetary defense. Nations united under a shared goal, no longer divided by petty disputes. The vessel became a symbol of human ingenuity, resilience, and cooperation. Elena, Rajiv, and Hannah led missions to explore nearby star systems, mapping safe routes and potential threats. Humanity had become a galactic force, not through conquest, but through intelligence, unity, and courage. The buried spaceship, once silent and mysterious under the Arctic ice, had awakened the true potential of humanity, and in doing so, it had changed the course of history forever. From that day forward, humans understood that survival depended not just on technology, but on spirit. Their creativity, adaptability, and cooperation had turned a warning into an opportunity. The galaxy would come to know humanity, not as a primitive species, but as a civilization capable of rising above the impossible. The Arctic winds continued to blow, carrying the quiet hum of the spaceship beneath the ice. But now, the hum was a song of hope, a promise that humans could protect their world and reach for the stars. And humanity had begun its journey.